standing outside the New York Public Library, the Stephen A. Schwarzman building, on our first stop on our location tour. This is the first scene in Ghostbusters 1 where we have our first encounter with the library ghost. This building was built in 1911, started production in 1897. It stands almost 100 feet tall, which is nothing close to some of the buildings in New York, I realize, but back in 1911 this was a pretty tall building. As you can see from some of the architecture, it's one of the most infamous buildings in New York and can be recognized from, pretty far away.
Oh,
As the skyrise has been built up over the last couple of hundred years, it kind of gets diminished, but definitely is one of the pinnacles of New York's architecture. Elmer Bernstein's music, of course, and the music makes this a really scary scene as they come on slowly with the pigeons and like the lion. And it always scared me as a kid, but walking up to it nowadays, it doesn't seem as horrifying as it is now. In a few moments, we're going to go inside and I'm going to show you some of the locations from the film and where we were at the time. But this is it. If you walk, I can show you the front of the building. In 1983, when they were actually filming this, there was a whole bunch of scaffolding that they had outside of the building and where you could see where they were working on it at the time. They also reworked the building back in the 90s to fix a bunch of the front of it and fix a lot of the etching on the building. But this is pretty much the way it's been for the last decade or so, and it's a beautiful building and it's got beautiful architecture. Around the corner, it's a nice place in the summer where you can sit down and you can eat. It's not really visible from here, but you get the general idea.
You look like a Ghostbuster.
That's because I am a Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
We're
Alright. So what happened?
hold on.
To explain what happened.
So we tried to go to the inside of the New York Public Library, but apparently there was a very angry woman in there that was thinking that I was wearing some type of apparatus that is extremely dangerous. I'm not gonna begrudge anyone. I was extremely nice to security and I basically said to them, if you want to check me out or if I'm making anyone uncomfortable, I will not go into the building. So we left very quickly as soon as security basically said that they wouldn't check in the pack, which I'm fine with. Long story short, just don't wear the pack if you're gonna go and visit the public library. So as a nice segue to that, we basically walked directly across the street. And this is 5th Avenue, where Ray, Egon, and Peter took out the loan after selling Ray's house. And what's over here is now an Orvis. It used to be the New York State Bank, but now is like a high-end, I guess, outdoorsman store. So the glass windows have stayed, but that's about it. Otherwise, it's pretty much just a high-end outdoorsman store. It's a quick location, something right across the street. So from here, we're going to take you to the next location and hopefully not get kicked out of anywhere else because we don't have to go into any other buildings. Yeah, that's about it. All right, thanks. All right, we're here at the Holy Trinity Lutheran Church. That's right next to Dana's apartment in the first Ghostbusters film, where Bill Murray says his famous line as Peter Venkman, "Nobody steps on a church in my town." And this church has been around since 1868. It's got a very interesting design to it. It's very iconic. So just giving you a quick look because it's definitely one of the major plot points of the film. All the CGI that was employed for this part of the film where Stay Puft actually steps on it was all miniatures. No harm came to this church, don't worry, everything's fine. It was no rebuilding necessary back in 1984. Or 83, I should say, when they were filming it. But the main attraction, or the big building that I know everybody wants to see, is actually what we're about to walk over to next, so let's go check that out. Okay, here's 55 Central Park West, Dana's apartment, the Shandor building, the Ghostbusters building. It has a lot of names, no real official name. The building was built in 1929 and is about 19 stories tall. There's a few differences from what you see in the movie and what actually is here. They used some practical effects in the film to add a few extra floors onto the top, but it does have that classic Art Deco style that you see in the film on the outside. There was no scenes in the film that you actually saw of the inside of the building or the interior. Most of that was pretty much done on a soundstage in LA or done with some type of stage in one way, form, or the other. The outside of the building, where the Ghostbusters are actually coming into the building for the first time when Gozer is being summoned and the ground is breaking open and all the guys fall in, that was done on a replica. What they basically did is they built a complete to scale replica of the front of the building, and they broke the street apart with foam molding and all this different formica and things like that to replicate what would have happened. Now, the horrible thing that actually did happen here in New York is the traffic backup. Back in 1983, around November, December, when they were filming this, traffic was backed up on Central Park West for about 18 hours, and the mayor almost had a heart attack. And at that point, they hadn't actually gotten the rights to the phrase Ghostbusters. They were filming both scenes. They were filming one under the name Ghost Mashers, one under the name Ghostbusters, because of Filmation having the rights to Ghostbusters. But the producer at the time got on the phone. There used to be a phone booth over there on the corner, and what he did is all of the extras that were in this film weren't even being paid. They were just like standing around here. So he got to a phone booth as soon as he could, made a phone call to Sony and Columbia Pictures, and he had all of these people who weren't even being paid chanting the name Ghostbusters. So he held out the phone, and he's like, well, we got to get the rights to this name because all of these random people obviously love the name Ghostbusters. But as far as the building is concerned, it's been here, like I said, for 80 years, or longer than that, I should say. And it's had some very prestigious clientele. Calvin Klein has stayed here. A lot of very upper-class people in the West Side. So our next stop, we're going to go to Columbus Circle, and we're going to show you the little walk that Stay Puft took. Okay, so we're directly across the street from 55 Central Park West, or 550, as they called it in the movie, due to like rights issues, I guess. And what's always been an urban legend is when, Louis Tully, Rick Moranis' character, was running across the street out of his party that he was having in his room from the Terror Dog, is that he had to jump over this spot right here. Like, if you can see the direct beeline that he basically ran, this is the spot. Now, whether this is true or not, we don't know. They marked it. Now, that movie now is 35 years old. I don't think the paint would have lasted exactly that long. But the Department of Public Works might just repaint it every now and then for whatever reason. Who knows? And from personal experience, I can tell you, when you do run across the street and you jump over this the way Rick Moranis did, and he's only like 5'5", he's not that tall of a guy, and I'm 6'4". This is a tough jump. Not only that, but it's a pretty big fall. So when I did this years ago, before I even joined a franchise, when I was just a fan, stupid kid, I actually did attempt this plummet, and I'm pretty sure I landed in that bush right there, which is a prickly bush, in like the early 2000s. I don't remember exactly when it was, but kids, this is my PSA as anybody who wants to be Louis Tully. Don't jump over this spot. It's a pretty much unforgettable fall, and you're not gonna like the results. All right, let's go to Columbus Circle. So we're at Columbus Circle, which is important to the movie because this is where Stay Puft made his little trek down to 55 Central Park West, which is right behind us. It's about, I don't know, 15 blocks or so until we get to Dana's apartment. And from here, this is a pretty historic area. A tribute to Christopher Columbus. We have his statue right above us. And what they did in this scene is they pretty much shot it as a miniature to replicate Stay Puft was put in a life-size costume. They had a guy pretty much, I think they made about 6 suits that cost like $4,000 each, maybe more. I'd have to check the price on that. And what they did is they recreated the miniature of this shot. This street, went to Toys R Us, bought themselves a whole bunch of little trucks, cars, taxis, and things like that. The special effects department, made by Richard Edlund and Boss Films, who had left Industrial Light and Magic at that point, was hired by Ivan Reitman to do this scene, had the guys in the suits coming down this strip scene, which is the most worrisome scene in the entire movie, because this is where they thought that the film might really jump the shark. They're like, all right, paranormal investigators, that's cool, everything's kind of grounded, but as soon as they thought about this gigantic marshmallow walking down the street, they thought the audience was going to check out. They're like, all right, this is ridiculous, this movie's not going to make it. But it actually was really cool how they could take the mundane and the ridiculous and put it together, and the audience just loved it. They laughed, they cried, they were scared. That's what makes Ghostbusters such a cool thing, is taking like a blue-collar job, like a janitor, and at the same time mixing it with the paranormal. And I think that is really why it touches so many people and audiences the way it does. But as far as the special effects, getting back to that, when you see Stay Puft stepping on a car, it's actually him stepping on a toy. When you see him stepping on a fire hydrant and knocking it over and the water is flying out, it's actually them with pressure shooting sand up into the air that's been colorized. So they used every trick in the book over at Boss Films that Richard Edlund had learned over at Industrial Light and Magic. Dennis Muren in the second film pretty much employed the second treatment to all the things he had learned doing the same things with Boss Films, because they weren't as happy with what had gone on during the filming of the first and second productions, which I'll go on to in more detail later on. But just wanted to give you a quick look, and this is pretty much the strip that got all banged up when the traffic hit, and all of the extras, if you can call them extras, because they weren't paid, but just all of the people coming out of their apartments and yelling the things that they were yelling, cemented in the name Ghostbusters, and the rest is history. Okay, here we are at Tavern on the Green, which is right by 55 Central Park West in the film. This was established in 1934, and then they closed it again back down in 2010, only to reopen it a few years later in 2014. In that little gap of time, it operated as a gift shop while they did some renovations. If you look closely on the inside, this is where Louis Tully was running from that terror dog, banged on the windows, and basically was trying to get in. It's a very high-class restaurant. They've changed a lot. We have some patrons on the inside. Hi guys. Those metal chairs that you see in the film, obviously not here anymore. A lot has changed, especially for a restaurant that's pushing 100 years old. But it's a really nice place. I've never eaten here myself because I'm poor, and as Winston said, this job is not worth $11.5. So, I do what I can do, but maybe one day, if the paranormal activity ever ramps up to what it's supposed to be. But that's it. Now we're probably gonna bring you down to what everyone's been waiting for. We're gonna go see the Firehouse. All right, see you guys there. Okay, so now we're in front of Lincoln Center, which was the scene in the film where Dana comes out with her uptight friend, who's one of the greatest musicians in the world, and meets Peter, and you see the very famous scene by the fountain where he's, of course, doing his signature dance, which, if my legs didn't hurt so much right now, I would try and duplicate. I'll try anyway, why not? You see him do the duck walk like this. And the spinning, of course, by the fountain, which I wish we could do up there. But the reason that we're actually not up by the fountain is because it costs somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 a day to film up there, I believe. My organization has tried to do it in the past. I think we've been kicked out on multiple occasions. I don't even think you're allowed to wear costumes up there, I believe. So this being considered a costume, I'm not even going to attempt, but I thought we would just show it to you. This building was built, or should I say buildings were built around 1962. It's about 6.6 hectares, I think, is what I read about it. And it makes up a whole bunch of city blocks here. There's an arts building, there's a theater, and there's another building that you can go to where people can actually study. Very upper class, very nice. I actually saw the Nutcracker here just recently, and it was really nice. They don't even let you put your feet up. They don't let you put your drinks on the railing. The champagne costs like $36. It's ridiculous, but that's the price of living uptown, I guess. But this is it. This is the scene. This is what happened. So next, we'll go downtown to Tribeca, and we'll show you what everyone's probably been waiting for. Hook and Ladder 8, aka the Firehouse. See you there. Okay, our final stop is here at Northmore and Varick Street. The spot, the headquarters, the Firehouse of the New York City Ghostbusters in the first movie. So this is kind of a low fire zone. They don't get a whole lot of calls here, but it was chosen by the film crew for its very specific structural design. It had a very unique look, and so we're going to walk over to it. This is an active firehouse to this day. They still use it. It's actually called Hook and Ladder 8, and as you can see, they use this logo on the ground here. And this is actually emblazoned on there, and it's actually on the side of their cars and their trucks. They have it on both sides of the street. And around Halloween, they will actually hang the Ghostbusters 2 logo right up here, which obviously you can see the Christmas decorations. It's not Halloween, but just a little interesting piece of information. Now, between 2015 and 2017, they were doing construction on the building because this firehouse has been here for almost 100 years. It's very old, so a lot of the pipe work and stuff like that was worked on. I came here and I did a video around 2017 just to talk to these guys and see what it is. That's also on the channel if you want to check it out. So they, you know, have done a lot of great work to it. Probably not going to get on the inside today. Although the interior shots were not what you see in the film anyway. That was all done on a stage in LA. But this is it. This is the Firehouse. Unfortunately, we didn't come at an opportune moment when we had one of the trucks coming out. That would have been cool to see. But I hope you enjoyed our location tour and seeing some of these great architectural buildings of New York where they actually shot the film. And that's it, guys. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell to get future notices of videos that I'm going to make. We're probably going to do a Ghostbusters 2 one. That one's all over the city, so it might be a little bit longer or shorter. I'm not really sure how that's going to work. Probably longer for me, but shorter for you to watch. So, again, thanks for everything, and I'll see you guys next time.